Are you ready to shape the future of higher education together? Yes. One more time. Are you ready? Yeah. Okay, one more time. Are you ready to shape the future of higher education together? All right, now that's the spirit of President's Forum 2026. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please rise and join me in welcoming the Honorable Dato Seri Diraja Dr. Zambry Abdul Kadir, Minister of Higher Education Malaysia, to the center stage. Please welcome.
Listen, something a bit strange this morning, though. From the MC asking all of you to say, to shout, to express yourself. It's good sometimes to have this spirit of youngsters. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dan salam sejahtera yang berbahagia pengurusi MQA, ketua pengarah, pengurusi universiti, naib chancellor, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan yang saya muliakan. In our tradition, allow me to say a few words in bahasa. Pertama sekali, saya mengambil kesempatan ini untuk mengucapkan terima kasih atas kehadiran tuan-tuan dan puan-puan sekalian, khususnya daripada tetamu-tetamu yang datang daripada luar negara. Dan juga saya mengambil kesempatan ini untuk mengucapkan tahniah kepada pihak MQA yang berjaya mengadakan sekali lagi program penting seumpama ini bagi kita menelusuri pendidikan tinggi negara dan juga di peringkat antarabangsa untuk meletakkan Malaysia dan negara-negara yang bersama dalam program ini untuk menaikkan penarafan kualiti pendidikan kita. Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, my respected vice chancellors, leaders of universities, colleagues, and friends. I have several chapters to talk today, actually. What they have prepared for me, based on chapters. So chapters normally they have about 7 to 12 chapters. So I don't know how much time is allocated for me to speak on these subjects. So it's a reminder to the organizer, if you want to prepare something for me to speak, so please don't put it into chapters, otherwise I will speak hours and hours to finish a book type. Well, Chapter 1. All right. The world that will not wait. Yeah, this is a very serious topic, chapter for us to ponder, to think. It is, first of all, let me express my appreciation to our MQA for convening this important gathering. It's not that serious, though. And today, we are joined by leaders, policy makers, quality assurance agencies, universities, presidents, and all members, partners from across ASEAN and beyond. And we come from different institutions and different countries, yet we are united by one shared responsibility, that is to shape the future of higher education. So once again, I thank you for your presence and your participation in this forum. Despite all the tight schedules, including myself now, as you all know, that we are busy with our political entanglement for because there is another elections in those who've been to Negeri Sembilan. You're familiar with Negeri Sembilan. We have another state election for your information. Well, that doesn't mean we cannot come to this important gathering for us to think together about our higher education. And ladies and gentlemen, permit me to begin differently today. Not with policies, not with statistics, not with university rankings. I know probably our Dr. Shatar already discussed with you about qualities, about MQAs, about rankings, method issues. But I want to bring you with a simple thought. That is, every generation inherits a university. But only a few generations are entrusted with the opportunity to reinvent one. I believe ours is one of those generations. The child entering primary schools this year will graduate from university sometime around the year 2040. You call them new generations. We have now the generation that we call the Z generation. Generation Z, the exact generation, or Alpha, Zambry generation, or Zaini generation. We are coming from different generations though. But right now we have a Z generation. But the next one, there will be a generation called Alpha or Beta generation. I'm not sure the next one. None of us, not ministers, not vice chancellors, not university presidents, not industry leaders, can confidently describe every profession that child will eventually pursue. We cannot fully predict the technologies that will define his or her workplace. We cannot foresee every challenge our nations will encounter. We cannot even be certain which industries will dominate our economies. Yet today, we are deciding what that child should learn, how that child should learn, and perhaps, most importantly, what that child should learn. This is every time we will repeat from time to time what they should learn. That is both our privilege and our responsibility. And ladies and gentlemen, there is one thing about the future that we should never underestimate. The future does not wait. It arrives whether institutions are ready or not. Artificial intelligence is transforming how knowledge is created. Digital technologies are dissolving the traditional boundaries of classrooms. Research is becoming increasingly interdisciplinary. Innovation is moving faster than regulations. Employers are demanding new competencies more rapidly than curricula can evolve. Learning itself has changed. It is no longer confined to a campus. It is no longer confined to certain group of people. That is our youth. It is no longer confined to one qualification. Knowledge has become global. Talent has become mobile. Innovation has become borderless. And trust has become more valuable than ever before. Universities, therefore, face a profound question. Are we preparing students merely to survive the future? Or are we preparing them to shape it? What kind of education that we want to introduce that? Is it going to be a utilitarian, conceptions? And if we're talking about the future jobs, purely on the future job, a very transactional education space, out of our concern about the future employability of our graduate, or what then? History reminds us that prosperous nations did not become successful simply because they possess abundant natural resources. As few countries has proven it. Singapore is one. They became successful because they invested consistently in human capital. Malaysia has embraced that conviction for decades. We have expanded access, strengthened our universities, produced internationally recognized scholars, built partnership across continents. These achievements deserve recognition, despite all the criticisms we face almost every day. This doesn't matter as long as those criticisms are constructive enough for us to move forward. By yesterday's achievement cannot become tomorrow's ambitions. Success should never become an excuse for complacency, because while we celebrate today's accomplishments, the world continues to move. It is precisely for this reason that Malaysia introduced the Malaysia Higher Education Blueprint 2026-2035, or RPTM 2026-2035. The blueprint is not another policy document. It is not another collection of initiatives. It is Malaysia's collective response to one defining question: how do we prepare our people for a future that has not yet arrived? Or now the catchphrase we always call it, listening from the speech Dr. Shatta just now, the future ready. And also the World Economic Forum always like to use the word future proof. I don't know how proof we are. Yeah, the future ready. How ready we are to face the future. The blueprint challenges to think beyond programs, beyond campuses, beyond institutional boundaries, beyond annual performance indicators. It challenges us to imagine the Malaysia we wish to build over the next decade, a nation whose universities are globally respected, whose graduates are internationally admired, and whose higher education system becomes a trusted contributor to regional and global progress. Now I come to chapter 2, or second chapter. This is the problem with you, Joshua Taro, because you need me to address the keynote address. You know keynote address means, right? So I have to be more serious. That's why I can see how attentive you are, or to listen to the speech. I'm so sorry about it, because the stage prepared for me is like a catwalk stage, supposed to talk. It's more relaxed. As I said, look, they have already prepared something very serious for us to follow. So forgive me. Chapter 2. I want to talk about from access to impact. Yeah. Every blueprint begins with a vision. But every generation must decide whether that vision remains words on papers or become realities. For many decades, higher education around the world has measured success by expansion. More universities, more students, more programs, more publications, and more rankings. Sometimes we have been fighting among ourselves to achieve, and we forgot the very foundation and very purpose of education, especially in the university context. It's not purely about rankings. Although I'm okay with it, but I'm also equally critical about it. Malaysia has made remarkable progress on every one of these fronts. But the next decade demands something different. It demands transformation. The university of tomorrow will not be judged simply by its size, nor by the height of its building, nor even by the numbers of its publications. Those years, I remember when the government wanted to set up a new university, we have to go around to find the size of the land, how big the land is. There must be minimum requirement, must be 1,000 acres or 1,000 hectares. But now, no more about the size. It will be judged by the values it creates for society. Because universities do not merely produce graduates, they produce the future. The university of tomorrow must therefore become more than a place where knowledge is delivered. It must become a place where curiosity is cultivated, character is formed, innovation is accelerated, leadership is nurtured, and solutions are created. After all, what is the purpose of university? And what is the purpose of learning? Because one of the very principles of learning is to cultivate human mind, human soul, human character, and human conscience. That's very important. The Malaysia Higher Education's blueprints reflect precisely this aspiration. Its focus is not merely institutional excellence, its focus is ecosystem transformation. An ecosystem where universities, industries, community, and government work together to develop talent, generate knowledge, and create shared prosperity. That is why the ministry has placed strong emphasis on flexible learning pathways, lifelong learnings, digital transformation, micro-credentials, academic credit bank initiative, stronger industry collaborations, and a more inclusive higher education ecosystem. These are not isolated initiatives. Together, they represent a new philosophy of higher education, one that recognizes learning as continuous, personalized, and increasingly borderless. My dear friends, for many years, Malaysia has rightly celebrated improvement in graduate employability. We should continue to do so. Graduate employability remains an important national indicator, but employability should never become the limit of our ambition. Our ambition must evolve. A graduate who secures employment has achieved something meaningful. But can that graduate solve complex problems? Can that graduate create opportunities for others? Can that graduate lead ethically? Can that graduate inspire communities? Can that graduate contribute to national resilience? That reminds me of my visit to Japan last 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. I still remember, trying to remind myself. It was last year or 2 years ago. The institute we went, they call Kosen Institute. Kosen. For those who have visited Kosen, you know the very philosophical. It's quite philosophical in that sense, because despite being engineering schools, they also introduce other related subjects of human sciences. Then we also ask the question, why you introduce these subjects alongside or embedded into the system, the whole curriculum? They say that because we want to produce the right human being. What do you mean by the right human being? They must be what they call, the term this, a social doctors. And then that confused me further. I said, what do you mean by producing social doctors? you are producing great and talented engineers. And whoever been to Dates Institute, you know that this is one of the most respected higher education institute, so to speak, to confine its studies into engineering courses only. No other courses. But why you also embed other courses as well? Because they said, at the end of the day, what is the purpose of having a good graduate if they don't have a higher purpose? The higher purpose is to serve humanity. That's the answer. Therefore, they said, when they are graduated, they must go back to their people, to their village, to the society, to serve them in their capacity. As an engineers must solve the people problems. It's not for yourself, is it? That's a very interesting philosophy. How you embed together the purpose and also your technical expertise. So the real measures, once again, of your university is not whether graduate finds job. It is whether graduate shape society. This is why the blueprint moves us beyond employability toward capability, adaptability, leadership, and ultimately impact. Ladies and gentlemen, these conversations naturally bring us to artificial intelligence. Some describe AI as the most transformative technology since the Industrial Revolution. Now people start talking about super intelligence. I don't know what's going to happen to the world then. People start talking about quantum, post-quantum. Yesterday I was briefed about the post-quantum now. Oh my God. That's really challenging. There is a new book that come out about if someone invent, then everybody will die. There's a book that is being discussed critically, and of course it's a critically acclaimed book. So, others describe it as the greatest disruption in the history of education. Perhaps both are true, but regardless of how we describe it, one truth remains. Artificial intelligence will not eliminate the purpose of university. It will redefine it. AI can generate information, but it cannot replace wisdom. AI can process data, but it cannot replace judgment. AI can automate decisions, but it cannot replace values. As intelligence becomes increasingly abundant, wisdom becomes increasingly scarce, and what becomes scarce becomes valuable. Therefore, the competitive advantage of future universities will not simply be technological capability. It will be the ability to nurture ethical leaders, critical thinkers, and responsible innovators. That is the kind of graduates Malaysia seeks to produce. Now let me go to the next chapter. This is about trust as Malaysia's strategic advantage. Trust. If there is one strategic advantage Malaysia possesses today, is trust. Trust cannot be purchased. Trust cannot be legislated. Trust cannot be manufactured overnight. Trust must be earned. One graduate at a time, one researcher at a time, one institution at a time, one quality decision at a time. This brings me to the Malaysia Qualifications Agencies, MQA. For many people, quality assurance is often associated with accreditation, documentation, compliance, and audit. This remains important, but they no longer define the full purpose of quality assurance. Today, quality assurance performs a much greater mission. It builds confidence. It enables innovations. It strengthens mobility, and it safeguards reputations. And it positions Malaysia as a trusted higher education destination. And thank you very much for your trust in Malaysia. In today's interconnected world, learners increasingly move across countries. They combine university degrees with professional certifications. They pursue micro credentials. They learn throughout their careers. Learning no longer follows a single pathway. Quality assurance, therefore, cannot remain static. It must become agile, responsive, internationally connected, and future-oriented. This is where MQA plays a strategic national role, not merely as a regulator, but as an enabler of transformation, not merely as a guardian of standards, but as a builder of confidence. Because innovation without trust creates uncertainty. But innovations supported by trusted quality assurances create opportunity. I've been emphasizing this because we have been around the world, and Malaysia, furthermore, becomes a center of international education, especially people from more than 180 countries coming here and enrolling their studies here. Therefore, trust is very important. I don't want to see, I've been telling our MQA, that when people come here without properly examining the authenticities of the certificate, we simply take them because of that we bring more money to us. I said, we will never tolerate that if we found any institution, higher educations, be it IPTA or our private, our public university or our private university. So please bear in mind that trust is very important. Why people come and study here? Because we did trust with our system. They have confidence in our system, in our quality, in our curricula, in our pedagogy, and with our professors, all the teaching staff. Have that quality that internationally is recognized. So please preserve it and maintain it. Now, that leads me to the chapter 4. Almost there, though. On ASEAN and on the world, that is leading ASEAN, connecting the world. Higher education has never been more international. Research cross borders. Talent move globally. Ideas travel instantly, and partnership increasingly define excellence. Malaysia, therefore, does not seek leadership for prestige. Malaysia seeks leadership through contributions. We believe knowledge grows when shared. Innovation advances through collaborations. Quality becomes stronger through mutual trust. This belief has guided Malaysia's engagement across ASEAN and with our international partners. ASEAN represents one of the world's youngest, fastest growing, and most dynamic regions in the world. I can testify, I can vouch for it because I was a former foreign minister before. Wherever we go, we are proud to tell, they're proud to listen to the stories, not from our side actually, from other side of the world, telling about how ASEAN successfully, regional groups that have sustained more than 40 years. Malaysia, therefore, does not seek leadership for prestige. Malaysia seeks leadership through contribution. We believe knowledge grows when shared, innovation advances through collaborations. Quality becomes stronger through mutual trust, This belief has guided Malaysia's engagement across ASEAN with our international partners. ASEAN represent one of the world's youngest, as I said just now, fastest growing and most dynamic region. Its future will not be shaped only by trade, it will be shaped by education. Imagine an ASEAN where qualifications are more easily recognized, where students move confidently across borders, where universities jointly address regional challenges, where research serves humanity rather than geography, where trust becomes our common language. This is the future we should build together, not through competition, but through collaboration. Malaysia stands ready to contribute towards that future. It's not only, as I mentioned just now, not through competition. Now the words, another buzzword they call the co-creation. Co-creation is okay, not cohabitation. Ladies and gentlemen, that's bring me to the last chapter. They prepare for only for 5 chapters. So. On the legacy we choose. Yeah. Every generation is remembered for something. Some rebuilt nations after war. Some transformed economies. Some pioneered scientific breakthroughs. Our generations will be remembered differently. History will remember whether we prepared our people for a future that had not yet arrived. History will not ask how many universities we built. History will ask what kind of society those universities helped create. The institutions represented in this hall will educate millions of learners over the coming years. That's including our new friends our new members in ASEAN from Timor-Leste. But beyond graduate, they will shape citizens. Beyond research, they will shape solutions. Beyond qualification, they will shape civilizations. That is why our responsibility is so significant. To our friends from ASEAN and around the world, let me conclude with this. Malaysia does not aspire merely to build excellent universities. We aspire to build trusted universities. We aspire to become a trusted higher education ecosystem, a trusted destination for learners, a trusted partner for research, a trusted contributor to regional and global progress. And my dear friends, the future is already knocking at our doors. The question before us is not whether change will come. Change has already arrived. The real question is whether our universities will lead that change or merely respond to it. Malaysia has made its choice through the Malaysia Higher Education Blueprint 2026-2025. Through the commitment of our universities, through the dedications of our MQA, through the strength of our partners, of our partnership, and through the trust we continue to build together. Let us build universities that educate not only for employment, but for purpose, as I mentioned earlier on. Universities that produce not only knowledge, but wisdom. It's very difficult today to find wisdom. But I'm confident that with the new way forward, we will be able to build more wisdom coming from different peoples living in different parts of the world, experiencing their own world, and to be shared together of their own experiences. that will build our own wisdom for the betterment of humankind. So universities, let us build, again, I say this, let us build university that educate not only for employment, but for purpose. Universities that produce not only knowledge, but wisdom. I repeat, universities that earn not only ranking, but trust. Universities that serve not only Malaysia, but humanity, because the future does not wait, and neither should we. With that, I thank you very much, and I close my books now. With your permission. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, the Honorable Dato Sri Diraja Dr. Zambry Abdul Kadir, Minister of Higher Education Malaysia, for your inspiring leadership and for sharing a vision for advancing global trust and collaboration in higher education. Ladies and gentlemen, to commemorate this significant occasion, we will now proceed with the official group photograph.